Hello and welcome to the Buy, Sell, Hold Spotlight presented by Sports Car Market Magazine. I'm Darren Roberge. Before we begin, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Also be sure to join in the conversation and share your thoughts by leaving us a comment below. Our guest today is John Michalak. He is a partner at Central Classic Cars. Welcome, John.
Hey, how you guys doing today?
For those who may not know you, why don't you give yourself give us a little bit of background on yourself?
Yeah, I'm one of the owners of Central Classic Cars. We're in Sylvania, Ohio, and I was an engineer for a long time, and then had an opportunity to get into the classic car business with a few other gentlemen, and love it. We kind of specialize in vintage V-dubs and old European cars, and just really enjoy it.
Well, it doesn't get more fun than that for sure. So how did Central Classic Cars originally begin?
So Central Classic Cars actually started 12 years ago, and it was kind of a leisure business, if you will. The couple of the gentlemen that started it were classic car enthusiasts who really just enjoyed any old European cars, and it's kind of evolved and morphed over time into mostly vintage Volkswagens and old air-cooled cars that have a price point and a memory of a very large demographic of buyers that, I mean, certainly we buy all sorts of stuff, but it's kind of evolved over time to be an old air-cooled dealership. And we sell cars all over the country and abroad. I've got some cool stories about that, but we're just kind of listening to the marketplace and listening to what people want and trying to provide and document our cars really clearly so people know what they're getting.
You mentioned some international stuff. You guys have a pretty unique method of sourcing some of your cars. Why don't you kind of talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so we purchase all of our cars privately. We purchase them from all over. We basically get in contact with people through their own personal ads online or whatever. Get in contact with them. We know the things that we're purchasing. We know really well, and we know what to look for. So we really try to get clear documentation on what we're purchasing before we buy it. And we get, after we kind of come to terms with a potential client, we create a contract with them, get everything set up, do some video conferencing or whatever we need to do. Sometimes we'll pay somebody else to come look at the car as well, just depending on the vehicle. But and then we'll purchase the car and get it shipped in. And we've got a really detailed process on how we go through the cars when we get them. But the beginning stages are just chasing the cars, chasing the cool stuff. These old cars don't grow on trees. They're really the good ones. You really gotta search for, and/or you gotta have people know who you are so they can call you with cool stuff. And that's kind of, we're pounding the pavement trying to find cool stuff to sell to people. Yeah.
So you mentioned you kind of check cars out when you bring them in from, say, like Brazil or a place like that. Like, yeah. What changes do you generally make or generally have to make before you can bring these cars back to market?
Yeah, so the Brazilian piece of our business is actually, we have a partnership with Quali Car. Their business is, they have about 20 or 30 guys down there that are literally doing frame off restorations on these cars. And when we get those in, we kind of just have a general checklist of things that we need to do, but there's really not much that's needed. They have new steering boxes, the engine's better rebuilt, the floor pans or whatever other metal has already been extremely well documented on it. So really, when we get those cars in, it's more of like, hey, let's just double check. We're all humans, and in restorations, and if anybody's ever done a restoration, mistakes get made. We do find things here and there, but generally speaking, just making sure that everything's functioning properly, and then document that in a 3-page. We do a 3-page safety inspection, kind of final inspection. We drive the cars about 50 or 60 miles on U.S. roads, and get them ready for sale. So that's that piece. I think specifically on purchased vehicles from the U.S. that we get, U.S. cars, we get them in. The old air-cooled, all these Beetles need valve adjustments. Some people, they don't even know what a valve adjustment is. They just change the oil in the car and they they don't, so some of these buyers that were people that we're purchasing these cars from, we do a valve adjustment. We then run a compression test on the motor. Usually we're looking for 100 PS, 100 to 130, depends on the motor. Some of these old Beetles and or bugs or Gias or anything. Some people put dual carbs on them. So anyway, we run a compression test on the motor. We don't always get really detailed documentation on, we try to classify these cars into different levels. So, and we really try to price them accordingly, because in my experience, we have buyers that are entry level buyers that want something close to a project, to be honest with you, where they want it to run and drive, but they don't, all the other concourse level details are not something that they can afford. So, they want to have something they can toy with. And so you have that kind of entry level, and we kind of call those opportunity cars, cars that, if you put some love into them and bring them to that next level, then maybe you've got more of like a driver quality inventory or a driver quality car. So, that baseline inventory you'll see on our website, we actually classify, we've got what we'll call our premium inventory. Then we'll which is kind of a 5 on a 0 to 5 scale, 4 to 5. And then, our classic inventory is kind of a 3 or 4. And then our opportunity cars are kind of 1, 2s, and 3s. And we really go into depth on, okay, what is the condition of the body in the car? How much metal work's been done to the car? How much Bondo's in the car? How much, all those kind of things, as much as we can. We're not going to be able to identify everything, but we try to make something, somewhat of a science out of something that's not always scientific. We really try to classify the inventory, give people as much detail about our inventory as possible. I mean, I pay a professional photographer to come in and take professional photos of all of our inventory. And so if you check out our inventory on our website, it's very standardized. We've got probably 70 to 80 photos that we do like on every single car. We certainly do obviously all of our regular photos on the ground, and then we put the car up in the air, take photos of the undercarriage, try to document all the flaws and all the areas of the car that are not perfect and or are, and just show people in as much detail as we can online what the car truly looks like. So anyway, I know that's a bit long-winded, but it's a really detailed process, and the whole intent behind it is to really educate the buyer on what they're potentially purchasing.
So you mentioned opportunity cars. I mean, air-cooled VWs is pretty hard to beat for something like that. For somebody that's looking for an initial project, is there anything really better than that you can think of?
No, it's a really great introductory vehicle for people who are like, hey, I want to drive a classic car, but I can't spend the kind of money on a 70s, not a long nose 911, but I want to have that cool rear engine experience. I mean, it is literally the perfect thing, kind of an entry level vehicle. And in some cases, believe me, there are gorgeously restored Beetles that are like just as spectacular as anything else you'll ever see on the road, in my opinion. I mean, but in general terms, one of the other audiences that I want to reach out to on this podcast that I think sometimes gets missed in the classic car world is women. I can't tell you how many ladies that we sell cars to that have memories with these cars that, and or they're not, they want that old bug that they had in high school, or they had it when they were in college, and they want to relive some fun times from the past, just like anybody else would. And that's a really unique part of the market that I think we've really enjoyed trying to help service. And I think certainly we try to give detail and backstory on these cars as much as we can to the buyers. And I think that's been part of the reason for some of our success. So I want to reach out to that audience, and not just that audience, but it's really they're generally speaking, you can learn how to work on these things pretty easily. There's a lot of detailed service instructions, Volkswagen for Dummies, all sorts of cool little things that people can do that to be able to work on them themselves a little bit. And maybe in the beginning you have somebody helping you. We ship cars all over the country. Like I said, I have yet to find a town in the United States that I've shipped a car to that within a 50-mile radius, there wasn't somebody who knew how to work on an old Volkswagen. You know what I mean? It's there's somebody out there. Now they may not be working out of a super high-end Euro shop necessarily, although those guys certainly know how to do it. But it might be a gentleman who used to own a shop for a long time, and now he works out of his garage, but he's still doing his neighbor's cars or whatever, and he'll charge you $100 to change the oil and check it over for you, that kind of thing. And that's part of the market that I think, people that want to have just literally fun cruising around this stuff in the summertime or whatever. And that's a big part of the audience that I think we've had some success with some of the stuff that we've sold. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of nostalgia. They're fun to work on. They're great fun to customize. Parts are available everywhere.
Yeah.
So the question is then, you talk about South American source cars. A lot of those in a lot of situations, despite the fact that they're old cars per se, are actually late model cars. Is there a difference that you see kind of in between the USDM cars that are the genuine classics, or maybe a South American car that was produced, much more recently than people might think that they would be?
Yeah, I'll speak specifically about my experience. I can't speak. I think they stopped producing. I'm just going to speak on the Volkswagen Type 2s, the buses, and I think they stopped producing those in 2013, and they had disc brakes and they were a lot more modern than the stuff that we had here in terms of time frame. But the split window stuff that we're purchasing from Brazil, they stopped producing, in 1975, that exact version. And they didn't have a 23 window down there. They just had the 15 window and or the, what I'm going to call the cargo van with no windows basically at all. And so there's a lot of conversions that are happening down there to replicate the 23 windows and or any things like that. And there's, just like anywhere else, there's all sorts of connotations to the Brazilian cars from some people. And that's why it depends on who you're working with in any country. I think the reason we built a relationship with Quali Cars because it's just been very open-ended and very highly communicative. And Thomas, who's the owner, has flown up and met with us at our shop, and we've talked and gone through some very specific details on cars and had problems because we've had problems with things that we've resolved, and I think that's a really important part of any partnership. But anyway, what we're specifically on the cars we're getting, the latest models that we're getting are 75s, and they've been restored. So we're putting new steering boxes in them. Like I said, we're generally documenting where the bad rust areas are on the builds beforehand. And I think we're doing like a 20 or 30 page document of all the details of what the car looked like before the restoration, through the entire restoration process, and then showing the end product, which is new upholstery, new windows, new everything you can think of on a restoration of something like this. And just to try to give the buyer an idea of, we're talking thousands of hours worth of work to get to an end product. And anyway, like I said, like you said, there's that market certainly stretches further into time than it does in the U.S. But I think the reason we really enjoyed the partnership with Quali Cars is purely because of the product and the relationship that we have with them. And so anyway, yeah, that's that piece. And certainly I want to I think we're going to, in our first on Sports Car Market, in our ad, we're actually going to be highlighting a few cars in our ad. I think there's going to be a Volkswagen single cab pickup that we're going to be highlighting. We're going to also be highlighting a few 23 windows that we have, and then one of the U.S. cars that we have, which is a really cool Volkswagen thing. It's a 74. trying to get a little bit of exposure to your audience and explain what we're doing and try to give people as much confidence as they can in our business. One thing that I always try to point out to any potential customers is get online and look at our reviews on social media. Take a look at Facebook, take a look at Google reviews, take a look at Auto Trader, Car. I mean, we put our name on the line every single time we sell a car, and we try to really do our best to take care of all of our customers. And we have a lot of situations where people are not even flying in to see these cars ahead of time. I always want people to do that, but frankly, a lot of people are, doing a FaceTime with me or one of our guys, and we're, showing them the car, putting it up on the lift, maybe having them do a PPI, and then they're getting the car delivered. Which, when you're spending that kind of money, that's putting a lot of faith in the company that you're buying it from. So certainly we want to point out the flaws before we point out anything else, because it's just better that way for the customer, which is the most important thing. So documenting and creating a detailed process has been the most important part of what we've been doing. We really are trying to get the right subject matter experts involved that know these cars like the back of their hand, try to document things as much as we can. Yes, these are 56-year-old cars. Yes, things are going to go wrong, but at least show people, what the cars are, and give people some confidence in what they're buying.
Yeah, you guys have interesting stuff on your website. You mentioned that regular cab pickup truck that you have. There's a whole bevy of other things that sort of fall into that same sort of level of unusual and cool. So you guys always definitely seem to have interesting things for sale. What has been your favorite car that you have sold so far?
I think that I have two favorites. I think the top two that I had a 69 Carmen Ghia that we bought from California from a gentleman who it's a spectacular car, and it's still on our YouTube channel. Forgive me. We have that's a plug for our YouTube. We've got Central Classic Cars. Check out our YouTube channel, and the car's still on there. It's a 69 convertible Carmen Ghia. It has a $15,000 Rancho Transit engine that's in it. I think it had 190 horsepower, California built motor. The color on the car was extreme aluminum, a really deep silver metallic. It had 3 hides of genuine tan leather in it, and then black carpeting, which was knockout. I mean, just the combo was gorgeous. I literally think we had that car, I don't know, maybe a month or so, and then I had a guy come in from out of town, and he just fell in love with the thing. But that was number one, and a close second we just sold recently was a 66 convertible, more of an original car. It had a single port 1300cc motor in it, and we sold that one out to Hawaii. So that one went to Hawaii, but gorgeous car. The Ghia, in my opinion, the Carmen Ghia is one of the most underrated cars that are out there. Just the Italian design and it's just got it's got a really beautiful look to it, with the engine trans from a Beetle. It's got the engineering from Germany. Just a combination of everything. It really, I just think they're just awesome cars in general. But we got a lot of really cool stuff. But those would be two of my favorites.
It's a lot of horsepower for a Carmen Ghia for sure. I'm sure that thing is a blast to drive.
Yep. Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun.
So what's probably the weirdest car that you guys have ever sold?
The weirdest car we've ever sold. I don't know that the car was weird, but I got to figure out how do I carefully describe this story. We had a really cool Porsche 356 replica that was built by CMC Custom Motor Carriages out of Florida, which is no longer in business, but it was black and it had a luggage rack on the back of it that had a whole bunch of cool stickers and stuff on the back of it. And I can't say specifically who bought it, but it was just the story of the sale. Basically, was I had a call from a gentleman from San Diego who Uh, he wanted to buy the car because it was tied to a specific. It was tied to the movie Top Gun, and I forget the lady's name. And that, oh my gosh, I'm going to get killed for this. But the lady's name who was driving the car in the movie. He's
Kelly LeBrock.
There you go. There you go. The car was literally identical. It had the same patina, and everybody buys this stuff for different reasons. I would have never put two and two together in my mind specifically to target an audience who wanted that car for that reason. But there's a person out there that says, I want that car for that reason. Anyway, it was like, he didn't tell me until after he had purchased the car why he wanted it so badly, but it was literally because it reminded him of that movie so much. So anyway, it's not that the car was weird, but just the story behind it was not something that would immediately have clicked in my mind as to why it would have sold. But there you go. So anyway,
I mean, that's the beauty of collector cars, is that they appeal to people on different levels for different reasons. And sometimes it's a reason that you would never think of to try to market to. So, I mean, that's the fun. That's the challenge for this type of stuff. So you guys have been playing with cars like this for a little while collectively between you and your partners. Have you noticed how that the demand has changed or the market has changed since you started specializing in these types of vehicles?
Yes, I would say it's been, again, we started with a few Volkswagen Beetles, and what we've learned is the market, I would say, you get into some of these Facebook groups and you can read what some of these people are saying, and they'll say, you'll always have the people out there kind of screaming at prices and saying, how is this worth this? And how it's worth what the market's willing to bear. That's the reality of the situation. You have a finite amount of vehicles, and you have a certain number of buyers. And especially when you document things really well and you explain things really well, you're gonna get a better return on the vehicle. So I would say categorization and creating those tiers and levels to really allow the buyer and seller to be on the same page about what they're buying creates a level of trust and a level of understanding of because you can, a restoration on any car is continuing to go up and up. It doesn't matter what the car is. I mean, if it's a Beetle or a 911 or a whatever, I mean, the cost of restoration is not going down. So you really want to document what is being done, what level has it been done to, did somebody do it in their garage? Did they pay somebody to do it? Did they, and I think if you're really careful about documentation and honest about the backstory, you're rewarded from the market. I mean, it's just the way it is. And I would say the Beatles last year, I think for many parts of the business, I mean, we had a very, very strong year. Going into the end of the year, things got a little bit soft. We're seeing things come, I would say January, February, it started to ramp back up. But as it always does, but I would say last year was just nuts. But the Beatles, I really, in that particular market, I'm finding a younger audience too that loves that product. And I think that's something that's really important, is to keep this going. I'm 32 years old. I mean, a lot of the people that call me are all of the place and age. But one of the mechanics that we work with, he's 37 years old. We're trying to keep things going, you know what I mean? Because there's a lot of older, I hate to say it, but some of the people I talk to in this market are generally, they've got more experience than years that I've been alive. So it's just kind of cool to see. And also some of the people that I'm talking to that are customers, I'll give an example. I had a guy that was, he loved Corvettes. He was a young guy. He's like, man, I love Corvettes. And then I looked at some of your inventory, and I'm like, wow, you don't see these in the Midwest specifically. Some of these Beetles that are lowered and have this really cool look to them. And I think the guy was like late 20s, early 30s. He bought one. He wanted to cruise around in it and have some fun with it. And And so I think that audience, and you want to have that kind of crew of people are behind it as well, instead of just the people that may have enjoyed them when they were originally produced. So I'm really optimistic about these cars because of just the simplicity of working on them, and it's a really cool stepping stone that allows you to, I mean, you read your history of these cars. I mean, the most highly sold vehicle in the world for a long period of time, and it allows this. It's kind of the foundational, in my opinion, one of the foundational vehicles for a lot of the other really amazing stuff that's out there. Obviously, there's a lot more unique things out there, but you understand what I'm saying, and I think that's why we've had some success with that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of support for those cars, especially online, and you're absolutely right. I mean, a California custom type of Beetle is really a cool car that is in a lot of ways timeless and has transcended generations to this point for sure. So, what's the next step for you guys over there? What do you think? What do you think the future holds for Central Classic Cars?
Listen to the market. Listen to the market. Listen to what people want. We're kind of we have an old school mindset. We're going to just keep grinding. We're going to keep pushing. I think the vision is to create an extremely user-friendly experience for customers that want to sit down at home at night and look for their dream car, and or look for something that's really cool, and know that what they're being sold is actually being documented appropriately. I think that's the biggest part of to me, if you can solve that part of the riddle, the rest of it all kind of flows in. We've already, I mean, it's gotten to the point now where we're getting calls I got a call last week from somebody in Alabama who's had one sitting in their barn for X period of time, and they want somebody who knows these cars to work on it. Literally, he was thinking about shipping it to us to have us do a whole bunch of work to it. We do have a body shop, which I haven't even talked about, but we have a body shop and some other things as well. But I think the vision is to try to really perfect the art of displaying, documenting, and classifying these particular cars. And I mean, certainly we will purchase other vehicles. I had a beautiful 1988 BMW M5 that we took in. That was a local car from not too far from where we live, or where our dealership is. And we're always going to do that kind of stuff. We're not going to just specifically focus on Volkswagens, but I think the foundational piece of it is it's always going to be part of what we do, because it's a really important part of the classic car business in our eyes. So I think we're going to listen to the market. We're going to listen to what customers want, but I think the starting point of that is to really create a scientific process for buying this stuff and not leave it so open-ended, because I can't tell you how many people that I talk to, the level of skepticism in some of these people's voices is so deep, because they just have been burned, or they've been led on by other dealership or whomever. Maybe it's a private seller who, is not really or not really truthful about something. That's not a sustainable business model. You have to be. We want to really document everything and create a classification process and get in as much detail as we can on this stuff, so that people will call and say, hey, I think my car's a classic, or I think my car's a premium, and I've looked at your website and I've looked at how you guys document these cars, and I think that my car's here. What do you think? And we've had calls like that. I've had people call me from all over the place. I had another call from a guy, and actually it was a lady from California, and she said, my dad's had this van parked in our driveway for 30 years, and I don't know what to do with this thing. It doesn't run. Do you guys want it? It's kind of just getting something cool out there that people can have fun with. And if something can or does go wrong, we want to explain. We're trying to come up with a couple of YouTube videos to explain some common issues and common things that go wrong with these vehicles, so that people can go back to that if they're not maybe they're not a Volkswagen expert, but maybe it's something simple that they can fix in 5 minutes that they think the world's just try to give out free information to people. I mean, the world is so connected now. It's not hard to put a 5 minute, or not even a 5 minute, a 30-second video together to show somebody how to change the oil on this thing. I mean, that's what our goal is. We want to take care of the customer and keep chasing the cool stuff. That's what we're trying to do. So,
Well, and education's going to lead to enthusiasm. There's no doubt about that.
yeah.
Okay, John, you're out in the world. You're playing with these cars 24/7, 365. So we are going to ask you, give us one car to buy, one car to sell, and one car to hold in today's marketplace.
I think specifically car to buy, early 60s Carmen Gias are becoming more and more difficult to find. They are Amelia Island. I think they just had a low light 50s model do 110,000 at the auction. That was a gorgeous example, but I'm buying the early Gias for sure. The later model Beetles are probably a little bit more commonly available than everything else, so may sell those. But generally speaking, the thing I'm most bullish on is these old Gias. They're becoming really, really hard to find. The good ones are selling for really good numbers. So we've broken a few records. The last two that we've sold have done really well, so we're really bullish on those.
So what should somebody expect to pay for a really nice, maybe middle of the road all the way up? You mentioned 110 grand at an auction recently. What are you seeing is the value on the street of a really nice early 60s Gia?
I can name some specific examples that we've sold. I just sold one for 56,000. That was a mid 60s car. That silver Gia that I talked to you about earlier, that was a beautiful resto mod. We sold that for 73,000. A beautiful, beautiful example. So I think certainly, as it always does, the level of restoration plays a part, but I think you're talking for a good solid restoration, 40,000 and up is not out of the question. And if you're selling something lower than that, give me a call, because I'm really, really optimistic about these things. They're becoming really hard to find. Like I said, we're chasing them all over the place. And I've got customers that have been calling me about, they want specific things. So I would say good, really high-end premier stuff, 40,000 plus is a certainty. So that's my thoughts.
What are you selling?
The like I think I had mentioned, some of the really late Beetles, I think, are a bit more abundantly available out there, and I think the amount of them that are available, it's just the lack of scarcity can affect the valuation sometimes. So it's not that they're not great cars, but I think they are still pretty commonly available out there. So I think it's not uncommon to see a nice late 70s Beetle going 10 to 15 grand. So it's not quite to the level of a super collectible piece at this moment, but we don't know what the future holds. Certainly, I think, again, it all plays into level and condition, but I think that's my view on it.
Some of those Beetles get pretty expensive. You start getting the early rear window cars and stuff like that. They start climbing up there. I mean, what do you see those going at the high end for?
Oh, over 100,000. I've seen a few of them 200,000 plus for really, really nice stuff. But that's and it, you can just, when you look at something like that, you can immediately tell it's got the right color combination. It's got the right look on the interior, the upholstery, all the custom finish work on stuff like that is just, to me, they're absolutely stunning. We have a right now in inventory, we have a 56 rag top that's won a whole bunch of awards, and it's a beautiful example that we bought from California that I think we've got it listed for about 45 grand, and it's worth every penny. That's one that's a collectible piece that's going to continue to go up in my mind. But yeah, no, certainly the early Beetles that are done right are going to bring great money, and that's the cool thing about the Beetle. You've got such a wide spectrum of price and value dependent. It allows for everybody to be involved who wants to be involved, which is kind of cool in my opinion.
Yeah, most definitely. What are we going to hold?
I think we have Volkswagen things. I think those are fun, and I think they're generally a good one. You can get 25 grand. I think I don't see a drastic upward or downward trend on those. I think that's kind of, those are on the sweet spot. And like I said, they're fun beach cruisers, or they're fun for your lake house or whatever. I don't see a drastic upward trend on them necessarily, but they're definitely cool pieces out there. And I would hold on the thing.
Yeah, drive it and enjoy it, and don't think too much about it. Any final thoughts?
Just really, really thankful for the opportunity to be with you guys. Just trying to get a little bit of exposure for our business. We've got a YouTube channel that's continuing to grow. I think we just started it last summer or 2 summers ago, trying to get up to 1,000 subscribers. Trying to get there. And I can't tell you how many cars we've sold because of that we've done some documentation on. So check out our YouTube channel. Check out our website, obviously, centralclassiccars.com. Take a look at how we're grading our cars. Take a look at the photos that we have on all of our inventory, and just please give us a call. I mean, we've got some really cool stuff. If you know people that like old Volkswagens or have memories with this stuff, send them a link to our website, and we'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll link your website in the description down below, as well as your YouTube channel, so people can find that nice and easily. I would like to thank John Michalak for joining us today. To learn anything more about what we discussed here, be sure to pick up the latest issue of Sports Car Market Magazine by visiting the link in the video description down below. As a reminder, if you enjoyed this content, please take a moment to like and share this video, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to stay on top of future episodes. I'm Darren Roberge. Thank you for joining us on the Buy, Sell, Hold Spotlight.